welcome to Flory Models Daily Show. Here we are on Thursday the 17th of November 2016 and no vlog today. Sorry guys, to be honest, I was out this morning taking care of a few bits and pieces, and then obviously this afternoon I've been doing reviews and didn't really have any time to do any vlogging, so you can have like a mini show of me instead. So I have been reviewing, and a few people said no more spoilers because otherwise it spoils the review. Okay, I won't say anything then. No, honestly, it is a lovely, fantastic kit. It's a long old review, and to be honest, that's why I'm doing this quite so late, because obviously doing this one, I want to do it justice. So we've showed absolutely everything right the way through. The great thing about this kit is, if you're building it straight out of the box, it's like your biggest dream come true. It looks absolutely fantastic, and as I said, saw quite a few of them obviously at Scale Model World this weekend. They all look beautiful. The Tomcat just has a presence on its own. Yes, alright, I would have loved it to have an engine and drop flaps and be able to have it as if it's ready on the catapult, ready to launch nose down. All, yeah, okay. If I'm going to do that, I might as well do the Hasegawa version. Now the Hasegawa version, obviously they do the A, the B and the D. So if you're going to do it, then you obviously want all the control surfaces, all the flaps and everything else, and you're going to have it buttoned up anyway. That is probably what I would still do. But if you just want a Tomcat that is of the highest build quality, straight out of the box type of build, this is definitely the one to go for. I can imagine, or I'm hoping, that you might find some of the aftermarket guys jump on this one and may be able to do things with the flaps and slats and all the rest of it. It's going to take a lot of cutting, and to be honest, the kit isn't really designed for it. But that said, it is probably still the best tooled, shall we say, kit. It's not perfect though, and you can watch the review because I found two faults with it that I didn't like at all, and it is my reasons. I have a little bit of a rant, not a rant, but a discussion about the kit at the end of the actual review as well. So if you want to sit by that, it was like 9 minutes of me talking about why it's not the best kit in the world, why I think it's the second, but whilst I think it's probably one of the better kits out there, and all the rest of it. Anyway, there we go. Right, yesterday you seemed to love me doing the Q&As and the various bits and pieces as we do the normal shows, so I thought I'd throw a few more of those in. Basically, Ron was saying, he goes, wondering about techniques of attaching seamless canopies, especially windscreens. On most real aircraft, there seems to be a smooth transition between the fuselage and the windscreen. I find it difficult to replicate this on a model with the results of the gap, or rather the recessed, which doesn't seem right. I've tried to white glue it, but it shrinks and requires multiple applications. I've tried filling with putty and sanding, and that is not very good for my nerves around clear parts. Would love to hear what you would do to get a seamless windscreen. Buy that kit. This kit actually gets around that entire problem because it is seamless, because it's actually, the glass part is the front end of it as well, and it clips in. Seen this before in some other aircraft. I think it's a really nice touch, and again, that's why in some ways this kit is quite nice, because it has got new type of things to it, although that's not new, as I've seen it in other kits before, but it's quite nice that this one does it. Personally, what I tend to do is fix all my clear parts, as you know, with clear glue of some description, or a PVA glue. This is my one of choice, to be honest. Actually, are my other cameras on today? They are. What you've got down here is microcrystal. It dries crystal clear, and it's thick enough that gives good bite. Okay, so that is the point to it. It's got enough to hold its own in place and all the rest of it. Then what I do, when that's dried on there, I'll come back with any other type of filler. That stops it leaching underneath, and also it'll stop it affecting the clear part. As for being worried about sanding and all the rest of it, to be honest, I always mask up all my clear parts before I fit them anyway. It's just easier doing it once they're off, and then so you'll be protected. And what you could do is obviously just lay extra masking tape over the clear parts, even over the framework, just whilst you sand it. Unfortunately, it's one of those things where there is no easy shortcut. There is no easy thing. As you know, I love using, you know, styrene filler. To be honest, that's what I'll do. And I will literally, after the PVA glue has dried and set and it's holding it, if I've got a sink mark, I'll just come in and tack some of the actual styrene filler into it, no problem at all. Or, as I say, I am quite a fan of this stuff. This doesn't shrink as much as other people's clear glue, because this one, it tends to be slightly thicker. So what I tend to do is put a little bit too much, then a cotton bud, to be honest, wet it, and then rub it, and then that way it gives a very nice thing. But don't forget, if you look at certain, especially Russian aircraft, they have big lumps and dips in them. There is going to be a panel line in there somewhere of that entire assembly, how the front windscreen of any aircraft will come away. So it's not going to be totally seamless, okay, but I get what you mean by it's usually a very nice fitting joint and all the rest of it. But unfortunately, some are easier than others. The Tomcat down on this edge, to be honest, is notoriously difficult to get right. That's why I like PVA glue. You can just put a lot in, wipe it away, come back in, wipe it away, because you don't really want to get in there with a sander. Your other options, of course, is to use things like perfect plastic putties, which are what are no, tapes, glues and fillers. There we go. These are your two options because these are water-based, so they're nice and easy to do. You put them on, again, wet cotton bud or Q-tip, give it a wipe, and you'll be good to go. And it'll come away really, really easy without any problems of having to sand or anything else like that. Okay, so all you're trying to do is limit the amount of work it takes to fix a problem. Okay, so you always do it as quickly and efficiently as possible. There's no point making work for yourself. So that's why I don't tend to go in there with fillers that need sanding and all the rest of it. If I can get away with a couple of little wipes with it and we're done, then that's what I'll do. Right, okay, next question is, okay, this one actually has come up before, but Christopher is basically asking about, which one of mine's got it? There we go, is about this, okay? Now what we're looking at here, or trying to look at, hold on, if I just drop this camera even closer. There we go. You see the discoloration down in the bottom? The nickel plate has come away. There we go, the good example here. You can see how it's gone, and they've gone back to brass. I don't know if they are brass, whatever they're made of. Okay, this is literally just through hot action stuff, lacquers, all the rest of it. Bearing in mind, this one here has got to be now 8 or 9 years old, this Infinity. It was my original. Actually, that's the wrong colour cup I've got on it. But this is my original one to it. This one I had a little bit later on. But it's definitely lacquers because 8 years ago, just before that, I never used lacquers at all. Whatsoever, you know, young children in the house, things like that. So there was no way that was ever going to happen. Okay, now I've gone back to it, so it's eating through everything, and it is that thing. I have heard that Harder and Steenbeck, because this is obviously this one, will replace them free of charge. Now there's the other thing that says that CR plus ones are supposed to be triple coated and all things like that. Rubbish, because this one is one of the triple coated versions, and then hopefully you can see it's done it just as well as the other one. Not as much, obviously this one on this side is absolutely horrendous. This one isn't as bad at all, but you can see what we're getting about. It is just one of those things. Personally, it doesn't worry me. I'm not worried about it. It's just a coating. The paint doesn't seem to stick to it anymore or anything else like that. I think a lot of it is because I use this brush for cleaning, and then what I tend to do is I'll literally get in there and I'll give it a whiz round, and I think the edges scratch it very slightly, and that enables probably the hot lacquers to get in there and peel it apart and everything else like that. But yeah, it's just literally one of those things. It happens. I won't worry about it. But if you did want to, contact your person, and you never know, they might actually give you you know, a new one, or you know, explain it probably a little bit better than me, but that's what I feel the way it is. Okay, David says, hi Phil, I was interested in your comments about competition judging for the Telford show on the gold, silver and bronze system. Is that correct? Yes, they do. The option to have the first, second and third system that we have here in the States, the IPMS is unfortunately opposed to the system for reasons only to gold. So they only give golds, is it? Right, okay. I had the opportunity to be closely involved in the Orlando show in 2012 and saw firsthand how the judging is done. The great surprise is that the show was the best of show. A winner was a 1/12 scale motorcycle, and it was amazing. The chap who'd won from Venezuela, just the nicest and most humble person you'd ever want to meet, but because of the objectivity that was a must in our system, the options tend to run rampant. But every model is judged on 5 specific categories: fit, any glue marks, paint, finish, etc. So where is the subjectivity creeps in, and what is and where the argument starts. The model can be judged in every category as perfect, but there is the slightest bit of paint outside the canopy frame, it is rejected, and that is unfair. Judging will always be bugaboo, pass, and ruin this hobby. Sorry for the long-winded, but judging is never-ending fight for all the regional and national contests. I agree. Again, I don't do it. I would not want to be involved in the politics of it whatsoever. And to be honest, as I say, there's a few people who totally disagree with some of the judging and everything that happened at this year's scale model and, everything else like that. And fair play, I honestly have to agree with him. There was a beautiful Harrier, I won't name you, you know who it is, did a beautiful Harrier. And it was, from my point of view, you could see the passion that had gone into it. And everyone says I'm a passionate modeler and all the rest of it. And you guys who know I'm talking about, you'll know that he's probably the nicest guy in this hobby, full stop. Yes, he's a professional. Yes, he gets paid to be in the hobby. Should he be entering competitions and all the rest of it as a professional? That's not my opinions and all the rest of it. It's, I think, yes, they can if they want to, and all the rest of it. But he had spent a long time scratch building basically a horrible dog of a kit into something that was absolutely flawless, and then was penalised for certain things which weren't even true and all the rest of it. When another model won, which, don't get me wrong, still looked absolutely fantastic and everything else like that, but it had a few little mistakes with it, a little, things that I think a little bit more time and care would have fixed it, and it would have been perfect and all the rest of it. And then, to be honest, I'm just glad I'm not a judge and all the rest of it. But these things happen. It's a competition. You're always going to get bad decisions. You're always going to get very good decisions and everything else like that. But this year, it does seem to be a little bit more of an uproar than we've seen on previous years. Personally, that's why I don't do it. I would never want to get involved with it. I don't. As I say, it's not that I don't care, because obviously I care about my work and what I do. But honestly, from my point of view, I build it because I love building, and that is it. I don't really want to be judged by other people about the rights and the wrongs and all the rest of it, because I don't care. I just love what I'm doing, and that's about it for me. So, but yeah, it's going to be one of those things, and honestly, guys, it's just something that I think people are going to have to agree to disagree on, and just move on from it, because obviously it's very upsetting for things like the judges, because then they're obviously going to, perhaps, they're going to get a little bit of flack, which sometimes obviously is warranted, other times it's not going to be warranted. But again, it was just, I don't know, a few bad decisions. But I can honestly say, hand on my heart, I don't think I've ever been to a scale model world, and you think I've been going for the last 7 years, where I haven't disagreed with the rulings and judges and all the rest of it. But then I'm not a judge, so there we go. Okay, Keith says, hi Phil, I keep hearing you raving about a new primer called ALK. Could you please tell us the exact name of it and where I think that's supposed to be, ordered it from? What is the difference primer to the Vallejo one I'm using now? Also, what is the website for the MRP paints? Right, first of all, primer. The one I'm using at the moment, and the reason I'm using it is because it's been working lovely. What have I done with the other bottle? I've got this in black as well somewhere. I've lost my black bottle of it. No, I have got another bottle somewhere. I don't know what I've done with it. But anyway, it is this stuff. Okay, we spoke about it on one of the last shows. It's basically AK's interactive microfiller primer. To be honest, it's extremely similar to Alclad. They do a microfiller primer and all the rest of it. It's lacquer based. It's a little bit smelly. It dries instantly and you can sand it straight away. It's not a primer stroke filler like you might have used if you're used to using things like Stynylrez. And the AK stuff and the Vallejo's polyurethane primers. Those ones there are particularly thick and they're great at hiding problems. So that's just assume you are working on something like this, which we'll get on with tomorrow, and you're doing some filling work. You can give a little bit more primer in there, shall we say, and fill it up and let it self-level and dry. That'll hide a multitude of mistakes. This won't. This will literally just sit on there, and every mistake you've made, it will show it up, which I think is great because you can go around then and clean it up all afterwards. But if you want a primer to hide stuff, then stick with, basically the thicker ones. The polyurethanes, as I say, MIGs and Vallejo's polyurethanes are brilliant if you can let them dry. Let's face it, as we know, they take about a week to dry. It's a long-winded, flappy thing. I prefer something that goes down and I can sand it as soon as I see the fault. I'll bring it over here with sand, polish, go back, recover, job done, we can move on. That's what I like about it. What I will do is, now I've spoke about it enough and I've been using it now for probably 6 months, I will probably do a full review on this. As I said, I deliberately haven't done it because I just sound like an idiot because over the last few years I've said, oh, this is brilliant. I think we use MIGs and I love the MIGs primer. It's absolutely fantastic. And then we use Vallejo's and then we use Stynylrez and then they've all got problems. But at the time when you use it, you don't really need to see it. So I think it's really nice to be able to then say, right, okay, well, look, we've been using this one now for the last 6 months. I really do like it. Oh, there's the white one. Okay, and you can do it like that. But basically, you've got the 3 flavours, white, grey or black. And they just really work really well. Don't get these confused with something like the extreme metal ones and stuff like that. That's a slightly different type of primer. But yeah, those are the ones we use for that. Okay, Peter says, hi Phil. How do you dispose of your hazmat stuff, such as dirty thinners and unused paints, etc.? Well, obviously I have a full recycling. Right, no, to be honest, my dirty thinners, I tip into this, which is what I call my dump tray. And then that turns into this crispy stuff, which is literally folded up kitchen roll, you know, paper towel, just down in there, and then it gets binned. I don't have enough to warrant a bottle of. It's not like in kitchen waste and stuff like that where I pour it in a bottle. I usually dump it into there. My extractor's running. I'm sure it evaporates and goes out that way and all the rest of it. So I don't technically have any hazmat-y type things. The rest of it, obviously, you know, plastic sprue. We spoke about it recently. Somebody said about recycling it and all the rest of it. Technically, you just put it in your normal recycling tub if you're here in the UK for plastics, and they will recycle it. So that's what I've been doing recently. I've had a couple of big boxes of sprues kicking around. I tend to keep sprue because you never know when you're going to need it. But I did end up with a big box the other week, and I must admit, I did put it out of my recycling separately because I wasn't sure if they would take it or not. Anyway, they did. So yeah, happy days. So that's where that goes. But as for hazmat stuff, I don't. The only thing I'm a real stickler for, because a friend of mine got caught many years ago with it, is that if I have any type of razor blades and all the rest of it, I always put them in between. Normally, I'll do the thing of Tamiya taping them up first into a little bit of Tamiya tape and fold it round. Then I'll put it inside something else, like a Coke can or something else like that, a metal can, and then it goes out, because I know somebody put their hand in a bag once and really slashed their hand very, very bad, to the point where it was almost life-threatening because they actually went through an artery. And caught it on their wrist, but that's what you get when you put your hands in bags. So make sure all your sharps, needles, stuff like that, put them into aluminium cans or sharp bins and stuff like that, and get rid of them properly, because as I say, they're pretty horrible stuff and all the rest of it. Okay, and I think this is the last one. Right, Tommy says, hi Phil. As many others, I've managed to get my hands on the new Formula Clear Pledge. Oh right, this is the Pledge floor polish. I've tried it already on a model and not knowing how I should have laid it down, I ended up flooding the surface. Was this because this is because I noticed that some places the clear wouldn't stick to the surface. I had to pour some more product on to cover the surface. In any case, I would appreciate it if you could show us a close-up in a video on the correct way to spray the thing. Right, and now are you talking the new UK stuff, or are we talking Floor Care? I'm going to declare this as being Care. This is Pledge Care versus Clear, as in K-L-E-A-R and all the rest of it, all right? So this is the difference. This stuff is the one that I'm using at the moment, and I have really fallen in love with it. I absolutely love this stuff. As I said, a lot of you saw my Dolphin helicopter, the rescue one, up against Steve's. Steve was car lacquer, mine was this, and a lot of you couldn't tell the difference between them, so I thought that shows the power of this stuff. Again, it's upstairs, it's still in testing and all the rest of it, about to see if it yellows, so the jury's a little bit out on that at the moment, but we're about a month in and it is still crystal clear, so we're good like that in direct sunlight. But again, the secret with all glossies onto glossy surfaces is to put down a very fine layer first, just mist it on and just dust the coat on. That's enough then for the next stuff to get hold and grip to. And the secret of all glossing is to flood it. You do need to get that glass look, okay? And then if you are doing it like I was, you know, sort of messing around, I think if you have a look at the glossing video tutorials, you'll see all about it. But literally what you want to do is spray it down, keep it moving all the way around, so it's got no way it can actually run to, but you're putting down positive heavy coats all the way around it as you go through and everything else like that. Come along with a hairdryer and dry it, okay, off, and then that way you can then put it down and you'll be good to go. But the trouble with it is, if you are into a situation where you put flood anything, it doesn't matter what you're using, you start to get the runs in it, you've just gone too much. But if you are getting that thing where it's like patchy, it's not everywhere, it's because it can't grip to anything. You need to get a surface on there. It's a bit like car painting, all the rest of it. The way they key the surface, you need to do exactly the same thing. And the other thing, my last question for today, was left on the YouTube comments page. Yes, I'm allowing comments. Now, this isn't something I've taken lightly because, let's face it, there is a cesspool of negativity on YouTube that we spoke about the other week. But I'm sure we're all big adults and all the rest of it now, and we can have sensible conversations. So that's why I've now allowed the comment section open to the public on YouTube. So please don't abuse it, because if it does, I'll just lock it down again. And this is the first time we've had it unlocked in 10 years. So in some ways, you know, happy days. But we did have a question come up there. Somebody was asking about crazing. Why is it you get crazing over certain things? All right. So I've forgotten your name and I haven't got it up in front of me, so sorry. But you did ask me about getting crazed paintwork and all the rest of it, and how to stop it and all the rest of it. Now, crazed paintwork is literally where the paintwork is drying and it forms a crust, and then underneath it's continuing to set and all the rest of it. And then what happens is it's going to slightly expand and it cracks the surface, literally like an egg effect. Now, I've had this, and this question has popped up a lot from probably stuff that, you know, obviously non-members don't see and all the rest of it. It's actually one of my videos that I've done on this from many moons ago when I did a F16 Thunderbird 148 scale, and I used white paint underneath it. Okay, and that was Guns. Now, the trouble with Guns paint is it's absolutely fantastic, but it's called what I call the eggshell effect. All right, so what happens is you think it's dry and you can handle it, but actually it's like a crispy shell on the top. The paint inside is still moving and it's self-leveling and it's doing all its bits and pieces. All right, what happens is then you come along with perhaps a clear coat and you just spray that down. That clear coat dries almost instantly on top because you think it's all dry. It's not. Underneath, that paint is still moving and it's drying and it's doing all its bits and pieces. You come back later, you get an eggshell effect, and that's literally what it is. It's because the coat underneath, being thicker, hasn't dried and cured properly before you've put the one on top. All right. There's a couple of ways you can get around it. First of all, it's thinner coats. Don't put down your paint so thick. Okay, by putting down thick paint, it obviously takes longer to dry. How many times have we all done it when you're airbrushing? You do that thing of just building up a colour very lightly, 5 little passes, you've done it. One heavy coat, you seem to be fighting it all the time. Exactly the same, all right? So keep your paint thinner, and obviously thinner coats. Okay, so a thinner paint going down so it's not as thick and heavy and take long to dry. So a nice thinned out paint, thinner, goes on like coats, and just build it up slowly. That will stop that problem. But a lot of it is designed because unfortunately they're down here now, like Guns paints, they just take a while to go off. It's not like spraying down something like an MRP lacquer and all the rest of it, which dry relatively quickly and everything else like that, or a lacquer based paint. Those ones are there, that type of hybrid where they're not quite a lacquer, they're almost an acrylic. Those were the ones that take a little bit longer to dry. But Guns paint is notorious for it. It's done it to me, it's done it to lots of people, okay? So the thing is, you think it's dry, you overcoat it with a clear, you know, just a clear or a floor care or whatever it is, and actually it's not. My trouble I had, I deckled it and it ended up shattering the decals, and I had to actually paint it. It was like crazy paving, and because it was the blue decal with white on it, it looked even worse. It was terrible. So yeah, look out for that one. Sorry, going back to that last question, where can you get MRP paints? In the UK is hmhobbies.co.uk is where I got all of mine from. Have a look at the review on there and you can see all about that as well. So there we go, that's about it from me. Tomorrow, to be honest, I've actually just done the review for this because I'm waiting for the Tomcat video to render. So I actually shot this as well. So we've done a review. This is a great little kit. You'll see that one tomorrow. And then I might get another review in for you tomorrow and everything else. But what I do intend to do, because it's been 2 days now, is sand our little sink marks on this guy tomorrow. I'll vlog it and you'll see it all anyway and everything else like that. And then if I get a bit of time tomorrow afternoon, then obviously we're going to carry on with our Gundam. We're going to get the legs on him and everything else like that. And I'll be working through him right the way through the weekend. Okay, so that's about it for today. I'm going to leave you with some more great work from Telford, some stunning builds we've seen. Thank you for all your feedback on that. So until tomorrow, everybody, happy modelling and take care.
faces prolong the embraces. We were always one for the breakaway, but we're nearing chances to wake the day. They're calling you over, the methods are bolder. We're lost in the time now, reminding ourselves how we were always once for the breakaway, but we're nearing chances to wake the day. I'm here to stay when you're on your way. I'm here to stay when you're on your step on the land.